it was really difficult. We were just speaking about with Carlos, and yeah, we basically agreed that we have a car that is so incredibly difficult to be on the limit. And on my side, I don't know what was going on, but in the high speed I had, the car was moving a lot.
The Miami GP has shown yet again that Ferrari are far from where they want to be under the leadership of Vasseur, and it seems like the drivers are not satisfied with what they're getting from the SF23. This is the car that provided them with the worst start of the season ever since points were remodeled in 2010, and now they're not even able to fight Alonso's Aston Martin and lost the battle to Russell from Mercedes. Sainz and Leclerc voiced their displeasure with the car. But is it all the car's fault? Or the inconsistency from them matters as well? The latest GP was yet another one that the Maranello team would want to forget as quickly as possible, given the fact that they finished P5 and P7 respectively, marking one of the worst weekends that Ferrari had when both of its cars finished the race, if we don't take Australia for example. The outcome of the recent race was yet another slap in the face for Ferrari, as Sainz said, and the fact that Leclerc's inconsistency and constant crashing continue to bother with his form only goes to show that the Maranello team is far from fighting for the championship. Nonetheless, they were P2 last year, and now they found themselves struggling to fight with Aston Martin and Mercedes, making a huge drop in the performance, which resulted in both Sainz and Leclerc being unhappy with the recent development of things. This has prompted a lot of talks about potential departures from both of the drivers from the team, and a completely new lineup being formed, given the fact that their recent statements have been nothing but harsh towards the car's development and the team's direction. After a solid race in Baku, in which Leclerc was able to obtain the team's first podium, Ferrari went back to ground zero, and this doesn't sit well with the Monegasque driver. While he had himself to blame for the crash during qualifying, the car didn't give him what he asked of it during the main race event, as he went on to say, "We have a lot of work to do. We have a super picky car. When you're in ideal conditions, the feeling is very good, but once you make a small mistake, the car is impossible to drive. I had to manage the tyres at the beginning of the race, which greatly affected me. We need a more consistent car. During the race, I go from one corner with an understeer to the other corner with an oversteer. Today, there were so many problems. The car jumped so much, touched the floor a lot. It's a tough situation. Seeing other cars overtake you because you need to manage the tyres is not beautiful, but unfortunately, it's the reality of the moment. It's a hard mentality, but we won't give up now." While the spirits are kept high in Ferrari that the upcoming upgrades will definitely put them in the right direction, the harsh reality they have to face is that there is slim to no chance that they'll be competitive at any given point this season. This has also been confirmed by Sainz, who doesn't believe that what's coming next from the car is going to propel him or his teammate on the high podium finishes. And the fact that he and Leclerc both went on to add that the car was very difficult to drive after the race only goes to point that there is so much work the Maranello team needs to do on the SF23. So why is this bad news for Ferrari? Because from where they started the 2022 season, it seemed like the reliability issues are the only thing they needed to fix. However, with the departure of Binotto and the arrival of Vasseur, the general opinion of the F1 sport was that Ferrari wouldn't need much time to accommodate the new changes, given the fact that they've already shown competitiveness in 2022 and their car was arguably one of the fastest cars on the grid. In 2023, even though the top speed is yet again in Ferrari's hands, if we don't consider the open DRS of Red Bull, there is so much that the SF23 is struggling with while on the track. And that's been pointed out by Sainz yet again. The Spaniard has been very critique-oriented towards the 2023's Challenger, saying that while everyone thinks changes need to be made to the other aspects of the car, the aerodynamic concept needs to change from the ground. He's been publicly denied by Vasseur for his words, and what he had to say after the race has raised some eyebrows throughout the grid, as the Spaniard went on to add, "We have a car with very little flexibility in terms of strategy, so if you try anything you get out of the ideal number of laps with the hard tyres, and it can be very long. We suffer a lot from inconsistency, overheating and so on. We have to keep trying things, but every Saturday we fight for pole, and then Sunday comes and we get a bit of a slap in the face in the race, with the Red Bulls on another planet, the Aston Martin also with better degradation, the Mercedes, who are a second behind in qualifying, suddenly 2 or 3 tenths down on us." Now, what does the future hold for Ferrari? One thing is for sure, the team isn't sure which direction is the right one. And with Vasseur saying that we should expect high results from them from Miami onwards, it was proven yet again that Ferrari keeps contradicting itself. This is a team that had a very good chance from 2022 on, and instead of building on the initial momentum shown last year, they went on to downgrade in race pace and lost to two teams that were nowhere near close to them last year. After all, the team shows that the qualifying process is not the problem, as in Baku. Leclerc was able to grab his third consecutive pole position for both the sprint and the main event. But when the long stint comes, it seems like the tyre degradation and the aerodynamic concept is showing where Ferrari bleeds out the most. And to make things worse, Sainz has slammed down the team's upgrades even further, adding, "In Imola there will be more changes in the car, but honestly, I think the difference to Red Bull is too big to recover in a year. But I trust the team, and I know that important changes are coming. That's why we have to stay motivated and focus and wait for those changes. We have to understand why the car is not consistent. The car is difficult to drive once you push with the tyres. We must know why we fight for pole on Saturday and then struggle on Sunday. From here to Barcelona, we'll try several upgrades, but if there are no improvements, we'll try to go in a new direction." These are Sainz's words, and I highly doubt that Vasseur will support his opinion of going in a new direction, as the new team principal is currently facing a lot of scrutiny for not listening to what his drivers have to say about the car's performance. I agree that Leclerc's inconsistency is causing him so much, but at the end of the day, it's not entirely up to him that he drives a car that just cannot stay on the road while being pushed to the maximum. Now, what does this whole thing mean for Ferrari's near future? Even though Leclerc has confirmed that he's working on an extension with Ferrari and is dedicated to making it work with the Maranello team, it's obvious that the team doesn't have the capacity nor the ability to challenge Red Bull in 2023. Time goes by and all of a sudden, Leclerc could find himself in a position in which he's not the number one driver in his team, something that was unthinkable for him back in 2022. Sainz was able to outperform him yet again and finish P5, but that itself was far from enough for the Spaniard to be proclaimed the number one driver in the team. Still, his consistency and his general judgment of the track and the car's performance could prevail over Leclerc's constant mistakes, and we could see a massive shake-up in Ferrari sooner rather than later. Even if Ferrari decides to commit to Sainz, there is a huge possibility that he could be departing the team for Audi when the German brand enters the sport in 2026. And all in all, things are looking far from ideal for the Maranello team. To top that off, they're yet to fill the gap that Laurent Mekies left behind him, and while they made some signings and are planning to introduce 30 new members to the team on the 1st of June, the results are yet to be shown to the Formula One world. So, what do you think about the recent development of events in Ferrari? Let us know in the comments down below.